Welcome to the Workamper Show, brought to you by Workamper.com. This podcast helps you discover how to finance your RV travel dreams. Each one of our episodes will introduce you to people who are already living the RV lifestyle or to work camping opportunities all around the U.S. You'll also learn how to hit the road the right way and make the most of every opportunity. Now let's turn over today's show to your host, Greg Gerber.
Today I'm talking with a father of three who, along with his wife, enjoyed RVing full-time as a family for more than 6 years. He has lots of advice to share. Today's episode is sponsored by Workamper News. Much more than just a job listing website, when you put the tools of this professional service into action, you'll find out just how easy it can be to turn your work camping dreams into reality. A Workamper membership opens the door to a one-stop shop for all things work camping. Being the original resource for work camping, you'll find the largest number of job listings, be able to connect with a community of work campers, and view resources compiled by experts who've been enjoying the RV lifestyle for many years. If you're serious about leading a successful and enjoyable work camping lifestyle, then membership is for you. Join today at www.workamper.com. Embark on new adventures today with the support of Workamper News behind you. Garrett Syfrett is a husband, father of three, video production specialist, and former full-time RV traveler. In 2018, Garrett and his wife made the bold decision to sell their home in Washington State and hit the road with their young family in search of a more connected, experience-rich lifestyle. They had already been homeschooling their children, so when the opportunity came for Garrett's wife to work as a traveling nurse, they decided to turn her frequently traveling work opportunities into full-time family adventure. Garrett became a stay-at-home dad who documented the family's journey on a YouTube channel called Diary of a Family. As their travels continued, Garrett expanded his skill set, trained to become a certified RV technician, and eventually started his own video production business called RV Media Creators. Throughout their 6 years on the road, the Syfretts visited dozens of states and national parks while road schooling their children through real-world experiences. As the family navigated the joys and challenges of RV life together, they built strong family bonds and made life-changing memories. To tell us more about their on-the-road adventures, please welcome Garrett Syfrett to the show. Thanks for joining me today, Garrett. I really appreciate the time. How long did your family travel in an RV?
We traveled since 2018. So about just beginning of September in 2018 is when we left our house.
And how old were your kids at that time?
My oldest, she was about 7 or 8, and my youngest was, I believe, a year and a half old.
Okay, how many kids do you have?
So we have 3 kids.
Okay.
And so we have 2 boys, and then my daughter's the oldest.
Okay. Was there any pushback from them when you went on the road?
No, they were very much excited to get on the road. And they were really at a young enough age that there wasn't like we were homeschooling our kids already at the time. And there wasn't a ton of things that were really holding us into where we were living in Washington State. So we felt that was probably the best time for us to start traveling because the kids were just excited to get on the road and try to see all these new sites and explore. And
did you get any pushback from other family members?
we got a little pushback from some of my parents. My mom grew up traveling, so she was just excited for it. My dad doesn't like to travel as much, so he wasn't like, and then it wasn't like I had any parents that were outright against us traveling. It was more they were just, have you thought about this? Or this is our concern. And we're like, yeah, trust, we've done our research. We understand where we're heading, what we're doing. And we already had idea of what we wanted to do for income and all of that. So
that's good. I would imagine that grandparents may sometimes have a little concern about, I won't see the grandkids if you're traveling all over the country.
We were at the time already, we were at least an hour away from my wife's parents and then about 2.5 hours away from my parents. So it wasn't like grandparents were part of our daily or even weekly lives. We would only see them every couple months anyways. So it was an easy transition for us because we didn't have heavy involvement with our immediate family.
How did everybody get their own space when you were RVing?
We first bought an RV that we thought, oh, this looks like the perfect RV. It had this quad bunk set up on the front of the RV, and it was a very unique design because we hadn't found anything like that. And we're like, okay, this will work, we think. And then we got into it and started living in it, and then quickly realized after about a month and a half that, yeah, if we were just traveling for a couple months, maybe even a year, like we could make this work. But pretty quickly, we realized that it wasn't going to work well for us. We found a Grand Design Solitude bunkhouse that we went and looked at, and we're like, yeah, this is it.
Okay.
And we've been in that ever since. And now the kids are getting to the age where, yeah, they're starting to outgrow it a little bit. Now that we're changing our direction as far as how we're traveling, we still want to travel, but I see us doing like a smaller travel trailer, doing a couple weeks out, or like tent camping.
Okay. So you got the Grand Design bunkhouse. That meant all the kids were in one room together, and you
Yes.
had your separate room on the other side of the trailer, if I'm not mistaken.
Complete opposite ends. We liked the rear bunkhouse design that Grand Design had because they had their own bathroom. They had their own bunkhouse. All the amenities was all back there for them. And then we were on the complete opposite end. We had seen mid-bunk designs in some of those, but it's like everybody's all scrunched up on one side of the RV. And we're like, we'd like to have just a little more separation than that.
Exactly, especially when the kids were as young as yours were, because you might like to stay up a little bit later and watch some television or just talk, and you can't do that if they are sleeping right under you.
Exactly.
Yeah, super. What did you do to make birthdays and holidays special when you were RVing?
I think that we just paid attention to what their interests were at the time. I think one point, my boys are really into Minecraft or some video games, and we would try to do like a cake that kind of matched something they were interested in. We try to decorate a little bit for Christmas, but we always did it comparatively to the size of the RV. So we'd buy like a small bush and decorate the bush. So it was like a little like 2 or 3 foot tall Christmas tree. And then we'd hang lights up. A lot of times we would just try to be in an area where we could go to a national park or go explore some state park or something like that. Sometimes the state parks are just as cool as
and not
parks.
nearly as crowded as
Exactly.
a general rule. Yeah.
Yeah.
Super. So did the kids have any special hobbies that they tried to maintain while they were RVing?
My daughter has started writing. So she started writing stories a couple of years ago, and she's about ready to publish her first book. Yeah.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah, we're just doing getting the artwork for the cover done, and we have the ISBNs and all of the other things purchased. We're about ready to release that. I'm
Okay.
pretty soon. So
What's it about? Is it about RVing?
no, so she's writing like a biblical fiction.
Okay.
So she wrote a story on, what was it, Rahab, like Jericho and all of that. So she did it from the perspective, I believe, of Rahab
Okay.
on the wall and, meeting with the spies and all that kind of stuff. So she wrote a fiction about that. So she started writing it at about 10 years old, and she's 14 now. So we're just finishing it up, and we're hoping that it'll do really well. We got to figure out all the promotional stuff and how to get it to market it and all that. But
Okay. Very good.
and then my boys they like arts and crafts. My son he's working on making like a board game. My middle son, and then my youngest, he's 8, about to turn 9. He's super creative. Almost too creative. He always is very imaginative, and once he kind of hones in where he wants to take that, then we'll work with him on that.
One of the biggest benefits for RVing families, I would imagine, is road schooling, the ability to homeschool on the road and visit some of the places that other students only get to read about or watch videos. How did you approach road schooling? Did you use any particular curriculum, or did you develop everything on your own?
We had already our like core curriculum that we wanted to teach our children already picked before we started traveling. But we took every opportunity to go. If we were within driving distance of a national park or a state park or any place that has historical significance and we could learn from it, we would go out there and learn. My kids are one of those kids when they walk into a national park, everybody's, oh my gosh, look at all those badges. They got their little vests on and they got 35 to 50 little badges on there from all the different national parks we've been to.
How cool is that?
Yeah. It's much better, I feel, to learn in person. Like standing on the Grand Canyon and looking out there is much better than sitting at a textbook and saying, oh, that's cool. That's the Grand Canyon. But when you're in there in person and you realize that right in front of you is the Grand Canyon, it's something else completely.
Did you find the Junior Ranger programs to be very educational for the kids?
Absolutely. And what I really liked about it was that they were laser focused on that specific area. So the stuff we were learning in Louisiana on maybe there was a plantation national historic site or something like that down in Louisiana, we learned about how they were picking cotton, how the farms, the plantations ran, and you learned a lot of history on there. But then you go to like Rocky Mountain National Park, and then you're learning about mountain sheep, or you're going up to 14,000 feet and learning about the glaciers or whatever it was up there. It's just, you could always learn something new, and it was completely different from the last area you were at.
How did you plan your trips? Did you pick a specific place you wanted to go to, or did you look for work and then go to that place? And
for a number of years, my wife was a travel nurse. So we basically went from contract to contract. And so a lot of our travel was dictated based off of where we got a contract. So if we were able to visit a couple sites, we'd usually have 2 to 3, maybe 4 weeks between a contract. We would actually go and plan a route that would take us to the next location, but would stop at interesting sites that we wanted to travel to on that route. And then a couple times we would just take a month or two and just travel. We took 30 days one time to travel from Tucson, Arizona. We went straight up through like Utah, saw like the North Rim, Utah, Colorado, Wyoming, Montana, and then made a loop into Washington. So it took 30 days to go see all of that, which was an amazing experience.
that's neat. Your wife's contracts were about 4 to 6 months. Is that typical?
They're typically about 3 months.
3 months.
4 times we extended for another month, but in general, they were about 90 days.
Did you like having that as a base to explore an entire region for a whole couple of
What I
months?
what I liked about travel nursing was that we really got to experience an area. We had friends of ours that within 2 years, they drove the entire United States, but they were every couple of weeks, they were moving on to something else. And so you never really get to appreciate that area unless you're there for a couple months at least and get to we like to get involved with the church while we were there, and we like to kind of meet some local people while we were there. And so we felt like we were able to connect with people in that area, not just be like a passing through traveler. So
What were some of the favorite places that you folks like to visit?
there's a couple places. A lot of Arizona during the wintertime is fantastic. The northern Arizona, not so much just because of how cold it can get, but like southern Arizona, Tucson, Phoenix, that was always amazing. And sunsets in Arizona are second to none.
Exactly.
We really enjoyed, there's a lot of places in Texas we like, but then it gets really hot during the summer, so it's just not fun. I absolutely love Montana, but again, we couldn't really settle there because for 6 months out of the year, it's covered in snow, and that's not really fun to be in an RV in snow.
Right.
But each of my kids have their favorite national parks.
Mhm.
I think my favorite was Grand Tetons. Yellowstone was amazing.
That's the beauty of road schooling is you can visit Yellowstone when the tourists are gone. You
Exactly.
have the park all to yourself, actually.
Yeah, last time we went was in September of last year. We went from Washington through Montana down through Yellowstone and Grand Tetons in September timeframe. And yeah, I mean, there were still some crowds, but we were able to go see Old Faithful. And we just drove in and parked in the parking lot with our RV and didn't have any issues maneuvering in and out of there. So
That's cool. A lot of the people are worried about socialization when it comes to kids full-time RVing. And it's a big myth that the kids are going to miss out on that. What do you think about that? Is it an issue?
for us, it wasn't really an issue. My kids were very outgoing. I think they could sense another kid in the park from about 3 miles away before they ever showed up. They're like, oh, I think there's some kids in the park. Let's go say hi. The biggest thing for us that made us feel like we had a community, we were part of full-time families
Okay.
organization, and we were able to go to rallies, and we'd go into a new park or 1,000 trails, and we'd be like, hey, is there any 1,000 trail or any full-time families in the park? And we usually get a message that there's 2 to 3 families in the park, and we'd go meet up with them. And so we always had family on the road and friends that we had on the road. And then we had friends of ours that really became like our on the road grandparents, as it were. And we've done a lot of traveling with them. And so that really helped us to feel like we weren't just doing it by ourselves. And I think a lot of families that try full-time RVing and then just quit within a year, usually it's because they didn't find the community and their kids were just like bored. So they didn't really be like, hey, this is an opportunity to change how we're doing things. I think my kids were young enough that they just adapted pretty easily
Okay.
to the change. But I think if some kids are just so used to like public school or Christian school and they just always wanted to have their group of friends with them, and that's how they can socialize, it might be a little harder for them. But parents can also really play a key role to helping their families adapt to life on the road.
Okay. Is RV travel an affordable option for families? Full-time?
It depends on how you approach it. If you travel full time and you find a good deal on what's 1,000 Trails membership where you can go through park to park, then things like that could save you money. Other things, it's a trade-off a lot of times because you might not have a $1,500 or $2,000 mortgage. Your truck is going to be getting maintenance and updates and tune-ups, and you'll be fixing a tire and hiring a welder to come out and fix a leaf spring that broke. And there's just other costs that come up with traveling on the road that kind of, I would say, balance it out.
Do you have to take any training to fix the RV yourself, or were you just naturally good at that, or did you always contract it out?
I fixed the majority of the problems in the RV. I did go to the NRVTA and become a certified RV tech. So I have some training. I'm not really currently doing RV tech work. So my wife always likes to say she has her own little RV tech. But a lot of what I'm doing is just, I know another RV tech that has helped me out with some larger issues because sometimes you just need another set of eyes. But yeah, as far as RV repair and doing fixes by yourself, you can usually get almost all the information you need off of YouTube. Now, you kind of have to take it with a grain of salt, but for the most part, you can find general ideas on how to get good maintenance, how to change out an anode rod, or how to clean a hot water tank or sanitize your water system, or you name it. It's usually a short YouTube or Google search away. And as long as you can just follow the instructions, then it's usually pretty easy to fix most of the problems yourself.
Okay. Did you have any problems finding technicians when you needed them? If you had a big problem with your RV?
In general, no. There was a couple times where I didn't have an RV tech that could come out, but I had phone numbers. I have good RV techs that I could call.
Okay.
They were able to give me advice and help me out on that front. So,
Is there an age when RV travel is no longer really practical for a family, for the kids? Anyway, you alluded to your kids being younger and it seemed to work for you.
for us, being younger was a really good option. I think a lot of it was the fact that we were already homeschooling. We were already pretty much a pretty tight family unit already before we hit the road. Right now, the reason that we're looking at getting off the road is my kids really want to get into homesteading, and my brother-in-law wants to get a property and start farming and stuff like that. So it really worked for us, and my kids really like being out there with chickens and helping in the garden. And they're like, I want an animal, I want this or that. So they always had interests, and we're like, okay, we saw those signs of them wanting to do that. And we're like, okay, I think it's time that we start looking at transitioning and getting a home base.
Okay. So you picked Oklahoma for that?
Yeah, so we were looking at areas that we wanted to land in. I have a client that lives in Oklahoma, and I do some on-site work with her. It made sense for me to try to land somewhere within driving distance. And then Oklahoma is good because if I have to fly out for a project, I'm halfway between the East Coast and the West Coast anyways, so it's easy to just travel where I need to go. And then we were like, okay, if we're going to land here, we need to find a good church. And so we were able to find a good church. We had friends that were already going there, and we're like, okay, we can settle down here for sure.
Okay. That's a good segue into what did you do to support yourself on the road, or were you full-time dad all the time?
So for a number of years, while my wife was doing travel nursing, I basically was the stay-at-home parent, but I also wasn't doing videos on our YouTube channel. So we were pretty active on our YouTube channel, Diary of a Family. Everything from when we got our house ready to sell, put it on the market, we sold it, we bought an RV, we documented our whole process of how we got on the road. And then we documented most of our travels up until probably about 6-8 months ago. Okay. So I'm still getting caught up on finishing up all the videos that I shot, but yeah. Okay. And then I ended up about 2 years in 22. I worked for the NRVTA with their marketing department with Tony. And then after 22, I ended up starting my own video production company. And I've been doing it since 23.
Okay. So you'll go somewhere and shoot video for people or help them plug their videos?
I do pretty much anything video related. So if they want me to shoot and edit, create like a commercial or an ad, I can create that for them. I have a number of larger YouTubers that I edit for. So they'll send me projects that they want done weekly, and then I'll edit those projects for them. And then I also work on a number of larger projects. I have a kids show that I'm editing right now that my church has shot.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
Did you travel with pets?
Until about 2023, we did not. We hadn't really considered getting a pet until we were thinking of settling down. But then an opportunity came through like previous coworkers saying, hey, I have a dog that needs to be rehomed. She's a really nice dog. And I talked to the kids. We're like, well, we'll watch the dog for a few days and see how we like her. And she was about a year at the time. So yeah, we've been traveling with a dog for about 2 years now.
Okay. Obviously they like her.
Yeah, they like her. She's become part of the family. Since she's a rescue, she has some issues. For the most part, she's really well trained.
What kind of dog is she?
A golden lab or golden retriever, golden lab.
Okay.
Short-haired
Playful.
lab.
Very playful.
Very high energy. Very high energy.
Was safety ever an issue for you folks at campgrounds or when you were on the road? Did you ever feel like the kids were in danger?
Not really. There was one point we were traveling and we had our route all picked out and we were like, okay, we're going to stay at this campground. It was a fairground campground, in Oregon. And we pulled into that campground. We saw the type of people that were in the campground and we just kept driving.
Okay.
We're like, okay, we're not even going to stop. They were meth heads and we're like, yeah, we're not stopping it here. We've been in a number of parks that had issues. Police had to come out, fired paramedics or stuff like that had to come out, but nothing was directly aimed at us. We were always like 5 trailers down and something completely irrelevant to us. Those kind of situations, we just kept the kids inside. And
were you comfortable letting your kids pretty much explore the campground that you were staying at? You were like Thousand Trails most of the time, right?
Most of the time we were Thousand Trails. When we were on nursing contracts, most of the time we actually couldn't stay in 1,000 Trails. So we ended up having to stay in like a local park and we just paid a long term to stay in those parks. Like we stayed outside of St. Louis, Missouri for 3 months in Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
Was in a really nice park there. And we just know what the rules of the park are. A lot of times we just made sure they either went together, we could see where they were at by looking out the window, or we just go with them to the playground or the pool or might be in that area.
Do you have any advice for people who are considering hopping on the road with their families?
The biggest advice I would give is, if at all possible, if you have a house, because we sold our house, we did all that, and it was great because we were able to keep the payments on our trailer low and we paid off our truck. And in the short term, it seemed like it was cheaper. But now looking back at it, we're now starting at the bottom, having to try and get property in a house and all of that again.
Mm-hmm.
In that realm, it would have been nice to have property that we could have just maybe rented out. So if you have the means to just rent out your house, once you decide to get off the road, you could either just sell your house and buy another house or go back to that house that you were at. My biggest regret is that we weren't able to keep some kind of property that we were able to just come back to.
Okay.
But as far as, I would say there's so many pluses to being able to travel on the road, because the things that my children have learned from traveling have been amazing. Most of my kids can easily talk to adults. They know how to communicate well. They have learned hands-on things that most kids would never be able to learn. And they've been able to see. We have a few pockets of the United States that we haven't been able to visit yet that I really want to go to still, but that'll be another time. But my kids have seen 85% of the United States and really spent significant time in a lot of those areas.
Cool. What about your marriage relationship? How do you maintain a strong marriage relationship in 400 square feet with 3 kids under tow?
There are times we find if we have to talk or just spend adult time, a lot of times it ends up being late at night once we know all the kids are asleep, or we'll go for a walk. And right now, with the ages of our kids, we can actually now get out and go and have a date or do stuff like that. My kids are pretty self-sufficient now. For a number of years when we traveled, our kids were not old enough for us to just leave them in the trailer. So one of us would always have to stay home. And just trying to find those little times that you can get away. That's one of the reasons why I have just a little office for my business, because it's a lot easier for me to concentrate than when I'm sitting at the table or on the bed at home, because then it's always, hey, we need this happened or this happened, and you're squashing some kind of conflict between a child, and you're just like, I really just have to get this project done. I'm sorry.
I can imagine. Did you ever hire babysitters on the road?
A few times. The time when we stayed at the Texan RV park, we had the opportunity to hire a teenager to watch our kids for a few hours. And then every once in a while, if you were at a rally with full-time families, they would a lot of times have childcare so that parents could have a date night or something like that.
Okay.
We took the opportunities we could. And then if we're traveling with a family that we trusted, we would be able to, hey, can you guys watch sometimes our date nights were just literally us going to the store and getting groceries. So
It's still a break. Absolutely.
it still is a break, yes.
If people wanted to contact you for any reason or follow you on YouTube, how could they connect with you?
Our family YouTube channel is Diary of a Family.
Okay.
And we definitely set up that channel so that we could do just about anything, not just RV related. Once we get caught up and start doing like homesteading stuff, we'll probably start putting some videos out on that as well.
Okay.
And then my business is called RV Media Creators.
Are you a network of creators?
Right now it's just me, but I do have, my wife is helping me with some editing. So I'm working on building my business up to being more of a production company with a number of people and all that. So it will get there pretty soon.
Wonderful. Well,
Yeah.
Thank you for your time today. I really appreciate it. This has been inspiring and very helpful information. I'm sure it will be impactful to a lot of other families.
Awesome.
Garrett Syfrett's on-the-road experiences offer a wealth of insights for families considering the RV lifestyle, especially those with younger children. He encourages families to embrace the experience, but also to go into it with their eyes wide open. He encourages full-time RVing families to keep their sticks and bricks house if possible. The Syfretts sold their home, and when they decided to come off the road, they had to start over from scratch. Garrett said having a property to return to would have made that transition easier. He also emphasized the importance of community and connection on the road. For his family, joining the Full-Time Families organization was instrumental. It helped their kids find friends and gave them a sense of belonging even while they were constantly on the move. Garrett advised parents to pay close attention to their kids' interests and personalities when deciding whether full-time RVing is a good fit. His kids were young when they started and adapted well because they were already used to being together through homeschooling. But families who are used to a more structured environment may need more time to adjust, he explained. In the end, Garrett believes the full-time RVing lifestyle offered priceless lessons. His kids learned to communicate with other children as well as adults, and they got to see 85% of the country. Those were hands-on learning opportunities most children will never experience. If you'd like to follow Garrett and his family's continued adventures, visit their Diary of a Family YouTube channel. To connect with Garrett professionally, email him at rvmediacreators@gmail.com. Today's episode was brought to you by the featured employers at Workamper.com. These Workamper employers have taken the extra step to share some photos and detailed information about their Workamper programs with you. Check them out today. Opportunities exist for solos, couples, and families, whether they are full-time, part-time, seasonal, or even long-term jobs. Some are income opportunities, and others involve volunteering at locations throughout the United States. Go to www.workcamper.com/FE to meet the featured employers today. If you are an employer seeking to hire work campers, then you can learn how to benefit from year-round recruiting by becoming a featured employer. Visit www.workcamper.com/FE details. That's all for this week's show. Next time I'll be speaking with a woman in her 70s who is having the time of her life traveling by herself in a van. I'll have that interview on the next episode of The Workamper Show. If you like these interviews, please consider leaving a review wherever you download the episodes. Thanks for listening.